Please help with my husband's midlife crisis. He is no longer acting like the man I married. I, 33F, always had difficult dating, however when I met Howard things just fell into place. He was sweet and actually listened. He wouldn't try to press me to do things I didn't want to, and he was okay with just spending a quiet day in together, so 2 years ago when I was proposed to I of course said yes. We decided to keep our finances separate, and have a prenuptial in the event of divorce. I loved my husband, 40M, and the relationship we had, but these last few months have been difficult. At first it started relatively small with him changing the way he dresses, and switching out his cologne for something that is much cheaper. He claims he just wanted to switch things up, but his new style seems to be emulating early 20s-year-olds. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't very well force it out of him, so I planned to be there when he needed me. When he asked me to a club with him, I really wanted to say no, but I've made him tag along places he didn't enjoy, so I decided I could at least be with him while he gets it out of his system. However, he seemed to think anything I'd wear was too bland. I put on the flashiest clothes I had, and stuffed myself in a hot dark room with loud just out of college-aged kids. He wanted to dance and drink, and I really tried, but I have sensory issues. When someone spilled a drink all over me, it was all too much for me, and I told my husband I'll meet him at home. He seemed disappointed, but I don't know what he expected from me. In the following weeks he only got more fond of partying, and ended up getting fired for his lack of professionalism. He would often stay out long past when I went to sleep and come back only to stink up our bed. For obvious reasons we stopped having sex, and he tried proposing a three-way, to spice things up again. To say I was disgusted would be an understatement. I brought up therapy, even offering to pay, but he just stated he is no longer looking to waste his life. Since I've been sleeping in my guest room, I knew roughly how much he had saved, and had been counting down the days till he would have to look for a job again. When his money ran out he withdrawing from his IRA. He also starting bringing up his thought on how split finances were a sign of a toxic relationship. After a while of me not suggesting what he hoped, he ended up directly asking to, merging finances, aka letting him burn through savings. When I refused he accused me of financial abuse. I even tried an ultimatum, but called me abusive for that as well. The only advice I've gotten in person has been either leave him or to just wait it out. As for leaving him, he held his last job for almost 20 years then left on bad terms. He has no savings, ever-decreasing retirement account. The lease on his car is almost up. He has no living family, and his friends have created distance since his midlife crisis. He doesn't even have a home. We have been staying in my condo. Leaving him would mean leaving him broke and homeless. As far as waiting it out, I'm already at my wit's end. So since I've tried everything I could think of, why not ask strangers on the internet advice, right? Too long did not read. My 40-year-old husband has been partying like a college student. He lost his job and is now out of money. If I leave him he will be homeless, and I don't know how to get him to go back to normal. That is a bit of an extreme and worrying transformation. You often hear it the other way round, in that people might pretend to have lots of energy for partying and going out, but in time it's obvious they prefer a quiet life. It seems rarer to do that in reverse. Would you say his whole personality has drastically changed? Is he more impulsive now? Is he quicker to anger? Something must be going wrong. He's messed up his career, his finances are getting messed up, and he's on the verge of losing his wife and his home. Something must have triggered this? Has he seen a doctor? There will come a point where you just need to prioritize yourself. Evidently you're quite close to that point. Have you considered a mental health screening? He's blown up his life in a matter of months. I'm assuming you've asked him what all this is about. Beyond seeking professional help, kicking him out is your only option. You don't have to let him burn everything down around you. Just went on the worst date of my life. 22F. Met guy, 27, on Hinge. He wasn't my physical type at all, but I decided to go for him because for some reason I thought he would be nice. Just to give y'all a visual, he looked exactly like Shane Dawson but bigger. We went on a movie date, my request, because I've been wanting to see the Black Panther movie that just came out. The date itself was fine, we didn't kiss. At the end I was laying on his arm because I literally fell asleep towards the end of the movie. After the date he invited me back to his place to watch SpongeBob. We talked about watching it unironically earlier. I agreed because I've done this before with my last Hinge date and nothing came of it other than cuddles and some kisses. Anyway, he starts making out with me within 20 minutes of me being there and I am not really feeling it. He notices and starts glaring at me confused and disappointed. I ask what's on his mind and he asks why I came back to his place. I told him my intentions and he basically said he assumed I wanted to hook up and if we aren't going to that he's gonna drop me back home. He said that during the movie we were building the sexual tension, literally what? He drops me home and doesn't say a word the entire 30-minute drive home. As soon as I get back home, I check my phone and he unmatched me lol. Funniest part is his profile said, looking for long-term relationship. 4 hours of my life I'll never get back sad face. Edit. Wasn't expecting y'all to defend the guy lol but thanks for reading. P. I don't have any major input aside from do not get in a stranger's car on the first date. Much less go to their home. When you're in someone else's car, they are in control. It's not safe if you don't know them. Please look out for yourself. My only comment is that you need to function in a much safer way. Getting in a car with a total stranger isn't safe. Going with him to his home, in his car, isn't safe. At the point where he expected to hook up and you said no, he could easily have done something very bad to you. Or, he could have refused to drive you home and just kicked you out. I hope you will take this advice as a good thing, and start thinking more about your personal safety. Funny seeing how you posted on True Off My Chest about the responses on this post, leaving out much information and almost entirely lying about the responses. Nobody is blaming you. People are telling you to take this as a lesson, because what you did was actually stupid. My 32M wife, 34F, started a business and it's destroying our marriage. Advice appreciated. Hello all. I apologize for the long post. Dealing with lots of emotions here. Too long did not read. At the bottom, I'm seeking some input and potential advice, support from those that have been through something similar. I have been married for 11 years to a beautiful, driven, and amazing woman. We have had a lot of ups and downs, but all in all, I've considered myself very lucky to have her. The issues within our marriage start about 5 years ago, and have increased in varying amounts over the years. In the beginning of our relationship, I took up working at a local production plant to make enough money to put my wife through school. Once she completed school, we agreed that I become a stay-at-home father for our 3 children so that she could continue to pursue her dream of opening her own business, starting by renting space at a local business, and finally opening her own store front 5 years ago. At this same time 5 years ago, I also began working as a substance abuse counselor for a local mental health agency, as our children were all in school and I was no longer needed to stay home. I became worried around the time that we purchased her current building, as she became immediately overwhelmed by the work that was required to complete the remodel on this space. Additionally, she did not want to hire an outside contractor to do the work, which meant the work fell on myself and her father. I would work 10-hour shifts throughout the week, and then turn around and wake up at 6 a.m. Saturday, Sun to work another 10–12 hours on the remodel. While the remodel itself was very challenging and time-consuming, I knew the work would eventually end, with the finished product being a space my wife could be proud of. This remodel created massive conflict between us. I admit that at times I was very burned out and struggled to find the energy to commit to the remodel after a full week of work, which led to moments where she would accuse me of not being supportive. Bear in mind, I am also the primary caretaker in the house. I make the meals, do the dishes, and generally tend to spend time with the children while she works on her business stuff. My wife has always had very intense emotional reactions, and since this period of time, my wife has been resentful towards me for my apparent unwillingness to assist in the remodel since this time. Despite the fact that I was there every weekend, regardless of how rundown I felt. I know I needed to work on my willingness to be there at times, and I did the best that I could while trying to balance all that I have on my plate. She's never let go of this idea that I never supported her and didn't ever want her to open her business. This is blatantly false. Her drive to chase her dreams is part of what attracted me to her. Fast forward to 2022, and I hardly feel as though I have a wife anymore. Since the doors opened on her business, it has been 1 year to next of watching her get seemingly further and further away from me and our children. She is very successful in this business, but it has led to an overwhelming amount of stress for her, that is then passed on to us. Multiple nights of her isolating in her bedroom listening to podcasts on how to maximize revenue, how to be a better entrepreneur. Multiple weekends of trips we've taken as a family, only to have her spend the vast majority of her time on phone creating posts for social media to bring in more clients. When we go on dates, she is typically on her phone working, only putting it down when I ask if she can focus on us for a minute. When she gets off work, she typically comes home, enjoys the meal I made, and goes right back to work in our bedroom, often falling asleep in the middle of a project, only to wake up at 3 a.m. and continue working where she left off. She's snapped on me numerous times, often accusing me of holding her back or being too much when I ask for some of her attention. I'm not a needy guy, but I don't think asking for an hour of her time here and there to watch a documentary or go on a walk with me is a big ask. She treats her employees and clients like gold, showering them with gifts, adoration, even trying to assist in lining them out with mental health support when needed, not to mention trips out of town for team building while myself and the kids get the leftovers of her time at the end of the day. And we are lucky if there is any of her left for us at all. I've been told numerous times that she is working on being home more. But typically I only ever feel like she is home less. She listens to these podcasts that talk about manifesting, and if you just work this hard, in XYZ months you could be set for life if you implement this one thing, only to end up needing to work harder while giving our money to these coaches that brag about this lifestyle they live. But I don't ever see them spending time with their families either. I feel like our kids and myself are at the bottom of her list of priorities, and I am so torn between being a good husband and supporting my wife to chase her dreams, while also being a man that desires affection and to feel desired. I feel I support her, I tell her daily how amazing I think she is, and how proud I am of her for what she's achieved. But I do not feel desired, or even wanted by her anymore. I feel like I am a footnote in her life, that I was a means to an end she no longer needs. What do? I miss her so much, even though she's passed out next to me every night. I feel 1,000 miles away from her. She was my hiking partner, my best friend, my documentary buddy, so many things. That all stopped once she started this business. I know it's hard work, I know it takes time, but I have to believe somewhere in there is supposed to be room for fair family too? I don't even know what to feel anymore. Any input, advice would be greatly appreciated. I do not want to divorce her, but I also cannot keep a marriage afloat alone. What advice do you Redditors have? And #X200B. Too long did not read. My wife opened a successful business 5 years ago, and since thing has become increasingly distant and detached from our marriage. She went from my best friend to someone that seems so distant that she's hundreds of miles away even when she's right next to me. I do not want to divorce, but I also do not want to feel alone when my wife is legit right next to me. What advice does the Reddit universe have for me? Edit. I genuinely appreciate the well-thought-out responses and thought-provoking feedback I've gotten here. I feel much more encouraged, and have a lot of good ideas cooking about how I can approach this. Also, I just feel much more secure in whatever outcome comes of this. Thank you, Reddit. I appreciate everyone that took a second to share their thoughts. Will keep responding as I can. Marriage counseling as well as sit her down and communicate with her from a feelings perspective. It sounds like a sit-down conversation is in order. Ask for an hour of her time without phones, devices, etc. Tell her how you feel. Ask if she feels there's a way to solve this that allows her to pursue her passion while also being present for her family. You summarize your feelings perfectly here. If you feel you can express it to her in person, great. If not, write a letter and read it to her. If needed, marriage counseling may be a good next step. I do not want to divorce, but I also do not want to feel alone when my wife is legit right next to me. I want ice cream, but I don't want to have eaten ice cream. I think I should just walk away from my BF. Just as the title says, I think I should leave my boyfriend, 30 male. I, 28 female. Am the only one who supports us financially. He has not had a job in almost 4 years. We are about to get evicted out of our second apartment because even though I work full-time I cannot cover the bills by myself. I completely support us. I work 40+ a week at a very stressful job. He usually just hangs out and trashes our apartment and doesn't clean at all, not even after himself. He also spends a lot of money on alcohol, weed, cigarettes, and Adderall. I'm getting so feed up and beaten down carrying all the weight for both of us. But then I feel guilty sometimes when I ask or confront him about things. I've begged and begged for him to get a job, his friends, his mom all have too. He just constantly makes excuses about why he can't and usually blames me. I can't keep up with any of it and I need advice. I'm so emotionally overwhelmed. We have no savings, nowhere to go, and he has a lot of things he has accumulated. We live in a 2-bedroom plus he has a garage completely to himself. And the other bedroom he uses as an office. I just want to run away and don't want to deal with any of his shit. I feel this is all his fault for putting us in this situation again. Also, I don't have a car. He bought his car with my money. So I just don't know what to do. What would be a reason to stay? You should have left a long time ago. Sorry you're in this mess. Well, first I think that if he bought his car with your money, you do have a car, and he does not have a car. He drives your car. Please do walk away. He's refused to help, so just leave, start over. You don't owe him anything at this point. Dear God, yes, dump him and flee. You need to leave straight away without looking back. It's obvious he is dysfunctional, no need to ruin your life because of him. Pack your things, block him and move on. Edit. Just to add, and without disrespect. It sounds as if you have very low self-respect and you need to work on that. Stand up for yourself and leave. Do not feed his addictions. Leave. Have a safe exit plan. Reach out to trusted friends and family to help. Gather all your important papers. Stop joint banking as safely as possible.